I am staring at 3 sworn declarations from the Trump Department of Justice, and I cannot find the gun. The gun that Border Patrol says was the reason they had to restrain Alex Pretti. The gun that supposedly justified shooting him 10 times, it's just gone. And when I say gone, I don't mean misplaced. I mean there is no clear chain of custody, no acknowledgement of where it is, and only 1 out of 3 federal agencies even bothered to tell the judge they haven't destroyed evidence. This is my analysis of what I am seeing in these court filings. I could be wrong about some of this, but the more I read, the more disturbed I become. And after going through over 1,200 comments from people as angry and confused as I am, I think you need to understand what is happening here. Because this isn't just about one missing gun. This is about whether we still have a justice system that works. Let me set the scene for you. A federal judge in Minnesota had to issue a temporary restraining order. Think about that for a second. A judge had to order the Trump administration not to destroy evidence in a shooting death. Not because they asked nicely, because the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension ran to court begging for help, terrified that critical evidence was about to disappear. And instead of the Department of Justice saying, "Judge, of course we'll preserve everything, we would never destroy evidence," they fought it. They actually argued in court that the judge didn't have jurisdiction to tell them not to delete and destroy evidence. I am going to repeat that because it sounds insane. The Trump DOJ argued that a federal judge couldn't order them to preserve evidence in a death investigation. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. Maybe I'm reading too much into this. Maybe it's just bureaucratic confusion. About 40% of the comments I read took that position, and I respect that. I genuinely do. The most compelling case for giving them the benefit of the doubt is this. Federal agencies are massive, coordination is hard, maybe this is just incompetence under pressure, not malice. And you know what? I thought about that. I really did. I wanted to believe that. But then I read the actual declarations these agencies filed under oath. And that S when the charitable interpretation fell apart for me. Let me walk you through what I found because the details matter here. The first declaration comes from Mark Zitto. He is the special agent in charge of Homeland Security investigations in the St. Paul office. And right away, he tells the judge something important. He says in paragraph 11 that HSI is the lead investigatory entity. They rerunning this investigation. They supposed to have control of the evidence. They supposed to know where everything is. So naturally, I'm thinking, okay, this guy is going to clear everything up. He's going to tell the judge exactly where the gun is, exactly where the phone is, exactly what evidence they've collected. He's going to assure the court that they are preserving everything properly. Nope. Zitto tells the judge that they received a copy of the temporary restraining order on January 25th. That is good. But then he never says they complying with it. He never says, "Judge, don't worry, we are following your order." He just acknowledges they got it. And for a lawyer like me who's been doing this for years, that omission is deafening. Because when you read the lead investigator and a judge issues an order about preserving evidence, the first thing you do is assure the court you are complying, unless you are not sure you can. But here's where it gets worse. Zitto admits that ICE officials and HSI didn't even show up to the crime scene until 9:42 in the morning. The shooting happened at 9:03, 9:04. That means for 38 minutes, this crime scene was just sitting there, unprotected, unsecured. And during those 38 minutes, protesters arrived. People walked through. Potential evidence could have been contaminated, moved, destroyed, and nobody thought to secure it immediately after shooting a man 10 times. Let that sink in. They shot Alex Pretti 10 times and then left the crime scene unsecured for over half an hour. Now Zitto tells us something else interesting in paragraph 12. He says the FBI initially responded to the scene to collect evidence. And I am reading this thinking, wait, why is the FBI collecting evidence if HSI is the lead investigator? That is already a chain of custody problem. But okay, maybe there's a good reason. Maybe they needed FBI expertise. So what did the FBI collect? According to Zitto's sworn statement, the FBI collected a mobile phone and a firearm belonging to the deceased. Both items, the phone and the gun. The FBI took both. Then Zitto says that as of his filing, the mobile phone was turned over to HSI, just the phone. He mentions the gun being collected but never says it was turned over. Where is the gun? The FBI collected 2 items according to the lead investigator's own declaration. Only one was handed over to the people running the investigation. What happened to the other one? I've read this declaration 5 times trying to find where he explains this. It's not there. The gun just vanishes from the narrative, and here's what really gets me. Zitto never tells the judge that he is complying with the temporary restraining order. He never says, "Don't you worry, Your Honor, we haven't destroyed any evidence and we won T." For the lead investigator in a shooting death, that S not just an oversight, that S a choice. Okay, so maybe the next declaration will clear this up. Let's go to Jeffrey Edgerton. He works for Border Patrol. He is the acting executive director for the Investigative Operations Directorate of Customs and Border Patrol. And I am thinking, all right, Border Patrol was involved in the shooting. They are the ones who actually shot Alex Pretti. Maybe Edgerton will explain what happened. Maybe he'll tell us about the gun, about the evidence, about how they re-preserving everything. Edgerton tells the judge that Border Patrol got a hold notice on January 25th about preserving information. Good. But he doesn't say he got the actual temporary restraining order. And he never says Border Patrol is complying with it. Just like Zitto, he acknowledges they were told to preserve stuff, but never confirms they are actually doing it. Then, in paragraph 11, Edgerton says something fascinating. He says Border Patrol was not involved in gathering the evidence. Okay, so they shot the guy, but they didn't collect evidence. That's already strange. But then in the very next paragraph, he mentions that the body cam footage has been preserved and will be kept for 75 years. Body cam footage. That is evidence. Critical evidence. So Border Patrol has evidence, key evidence, but they just told the judge they weren't involved in gathering evidence. Which is it? And here's the kicker. Edgerton doesn't say who preserved the body cam footage. He doesn't say it's been turned over to HSI, the lead investigator. He just says it exists and will be preserved. So now we have an agency that claims it's not involved in evidence collection, but it's holding on to critical video evidence that apparently hasn't been handed to the people running the investigation. This is exactly the kind of chain of custody nightmare that destroys cases in court. Oh, and Edgerton? He also never tells the judge that Border Patrol is complying with the temporary restraining order and hasn't destroyed evidence. Second agency, second declaration, second refusal to simply assure the court they are following the law. Now I'm starting to feel crazy. Like, am I the only one who thinks this is insane? And then I go to the comments, and 62% of you are expressing the same fury and confusion I am feeling. People are asking the same questions. Where is the gun? Where is Alex's phone? Why did they just say they re-preserving evidence? And some of you are making connections I hadn't even thought of yet. One person wrote something that really stuck with me. They said this reminds them of how evidence in other controversial cases just vanished. Another person pointed out that the agent who grabbed the gun took off with it. Multiple people are demanding to know where Alex Pretti's phone is, the one that was recording everything. So I go to the third declaration, hoping maybe this will finally give us answers. This one is from the FBI, but the agent's name is redacted. The judge knows who it is, but we don't. And I am thinking, okay, we know from Zitto that the FBI collected the gun and the phone. So this FBI agent should be able to tell us exactly what happened to both items, right? This should be where we get clarity. The FBI agent says he is assigned to the Minneapolis field office and oversees the evidence response team. He was sent on January 24th to collect evidence relating to the shooting. Good, this matches what Zitto said. He explains there is a 12-step process for collecting evidence. Okay, sounds professional. But then in paragraph 4, he drops this bomb. He says that due to the scene becoming volatile, the 12-step process was adapted for the safety of personnel. When did it become volatile? How? What does adapted mean? Did you skip steps? Did you not properly document things? This is the kind of vague language that makes prosecutors lose their minds because proper chain of custody requires following procedures exactly. You can just adapt on the fly and expect evidence to hold up in court. But here's the really maddening part. The FBI agent says all evidence that was collected was transported back to the Minneapolis FBI field office and packaged. All evidence that was collected. Okay, what evidence? He doesn't say. He doesn't mention the phone. He doesn't mention the gun. He doesn't say that he turned anything over to HSI. Remember, HSI is the lead investigator, and according to their guy Zitto, the FBI collected a phone and a gun. But the FBI's own declaration doesn't mention either one specifically. Doesn't he confirm they have them? Doesn't it confirm they turned them over? Just says that whatever they collected was packaged. The FBI agent does say one thing that the other two didn't. He actually tells the judge that the FBI has not altered or destroyed the collected evidence. Finally, somebody willing to go on record about not destroying evidence. But he is only talking about whatever the FBI has. He not talking about what might have been handed off to other agencies. He not confirming what items were collected. He not filling in any of the gaps. So here, where we are. 3 declarations from 3 different agencies. HSI says they are the lead investigator, and the FBI collected a gun and a phone, but only the phone was turned over. Border Patrol says they were not involved in evidence collection, but they have the body cam footage. FBI says they collected evidence and packaged it, but 1T specify what and 1T confirm anything was turned over. And only the FBI agent actually promises the judge they haven't destroyed evidence. The gun is missing. Alex Pretti's gun that supposedly justified this whole thing is unaccounted for in these sworn declarations. I cannot tell you where it is based on what these 3 agencies filed with the court. And the thing is, this isn't complicated. If you rerunning a proper investigation, you have a simple log. FBI collected items A and B at this time. FBI transferred items A and B to HSI at this time. HSI received and secured items A and B. Chain of custody established. Done. Basic police work. But that's not what we have here. We have 3 agencies that can seem to coordinate their stories about what evidence exists, who has it, and whether they were preserving it. We have a crime scene that was left unsecured for 38 minutes. We have body cam footage that apparently exists but hasn't been turned over to the investigators. We have a lead investigator who 1T had confirmed he is complying with a court order. We have 2 agencies that want to promise the judge they are not destroying evidence. And we have a missing gun. Now, I want to be fair to the opposition view here because about 30% of the comments are saying, look, this is probably just bureaucratic incompetence. The Trump administration just started. Everyone knew things are chaotic. Maybe this isn't sinister. Maybe it is just screwed up. And you know what? That's possible. I genuinely cannot rule that out. The most compelling case for that interpretation is that this level of coordination failure could absolutely happen with acting directors and new leadership and multiple agencies stepping on each other. Hanlon's razor, right? Never attribute to malice what can be explained by incompetence. But here is why I still think this is deeply suspicious, even if it's just incompetence. Because whether this is intentional destruction of evidence or just catastrophic mishandling, the result is the same. A man is dead. The evidence that could prove whether his killing was justified is compromised. The chain of custody is destroyed. Critical items are unaccounted for. And the agencies involved are fighting a judge who just wants them to preserve what they have. Even if this is pure incompetence, it is incompetence that serves the exact same purpose as a deliberate cover-up. It makes accountability impossible. And I keep coming back to this. Why fight the judge? If you are innocent, if you have nothing to hide, if you are conducting a proper investigation, why would you argue that a federal judge doesn't have jurisdiction to order you not to destroy evidence? Why not just say, Judge, absolutely, we agree. Here's our sworn statement that everything is being preserved properly. The fact that they fought this tells me something. It tells me they are not confident they can promise preservation. And that terrifies me. Let me tell you what else terrifies me. I am seeing comments from people saying they predicted this. Multiple people wrote that they knew the evidence would be destroyed or disappear. One person said they called it right after the shooting happened. Now look, we can define the gun. People aren't surprised. They expected this. Think about what that means. We've reached a point where American citizens expect their government to destroy evidence in a shooting death, and they were not wrong to expect it, because that's exactly what appears to be happening. I read a comment from someone watching from Canada, and they said they rewatching this every day in horror. And I thought about that, about how this looks from outside, about what it means that our northern neighbors, our allies, our friends are watching American law enforcement shoot a man 10 times and then lose the evidence. About what it means for our international standing, our credibility, our claim to be a nation of laws. We look like a banana republic. We look like a country where the government can kill people and make the evidence disappear. And some of you are making the connection to Nuremberg. Someone wrote that Bondi and Patel and the rest need to remember that just following orders didn't work as a defense there either. And that comment hit me hard because we are watching people make choices right now. The agent who grabbed that gun made a choice about what to do with it. The officials writing these declarations made choices about what to assure the judge and what to leave out. The DOJ lawyers made a choice to fight preservation of evidence instead of agreeing to it. These are choices. Individual human beings making decisions. and history will remember those decisions. Several people are asking about Alex Pretti's phone. Not just the gun, but his phone. The one that was recording. The one that might have captured his final moments, his perspective, what was actually said to him, whether he was actually threatening anyone. Where is that phone? Zitto says the FBI turned a phone over to HSI. But is that Alex's phone or is that a Border Patrol agent S phone? We don't know. The declaration doesn't specify, and the FBI agent wanted to confirm what items they collected, so we have no idea if Alex's phone with potentially exculpatory evidence on it is being preserved or if it's gone too. There's another detail that keeps bothering me. The body cam footage. Border Patrol has it. Border Patrol, which shot Alex Pretti, they have the video of what happened. And according to Edgerton, they going to preserve it for 75 years. Okay, great, but they haven't turned it over to the lead investigator. Why? If you reconducting a transparent investigation, if you want to clear your officers' names, wouldn't you immediately hand over the footage to the independent investigator? Wouldn't you want HSI to review it and confirm the shooting was justified, unless the footage shows something you don't want reviewed? Unless it contradicts the official story, unless it shows that Alex Pretti wasn't actually threatening anyone with a gun, because remember, the entire justification for this shooting is that he had a gun and was a threat. But if the gun is missing and the body cam footage isn't being shared and Alex's phone is unaccounted for, what are we supposed to conclude? I want to be clear about something. I cannot prove that this is a deliberate cover-up. I cannot prove that someone ordered evidence destroyed. What I can prove, because it's right there in the sworn declarations, is that 3 federal agencies cannot account for critical evidence, will not assure a judge they're preserving everything, fought against a preservation order, and left a crime scene unsecured for 38 minutes after shooting a man 10 times. Those are facts. What those facts mean is interpretation. But from where I am sitting, the interpretation that makes the most sense is that at minimum, this investigation is so badly mishandled that the truth may never be known. And at maximum, evidence is being deliberately disappeared to protect the officers involved. You know what I keep thinking about? The Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension running to that judge. They were so worried, so convinced that evidence was about to be destroyed that they sought emergency judicial intervention. These are state investigators who want to determine if state crimes were committed by federal officers. And they were terrified they'd lose their chance because the feds would make the evidence vanish. That is not paranoia. That is a reasonable fear based on how these agencies are behaving. And the judge granted that temporary restraining order immediately. A federal judge looked at what the state was telling him and said, yes, this is serious enough that I need to act right now. Judges don't do that lightly. They don't issue TROs unless there's a genuine imminent threat. This judge believed, based on what he was shown, that without his order, evidence would be destroyed. And then the Trump administration fought that order, argued he didn't have the power to issue it. That should chill everyone, regardless of politics. Look, I know some of you are going to say I am being too harsh, that I am jumping to conclusions, that I need to wait for the full investigation, and maybe you are right, maybe I'm wrong about this. Maybe in a few weeks, HSI will release a comprehensive report showing exactly where every piece of evidence is, including the gun. Maybe they'll turn over the body cam footage and it will completely justify the shooting. Maybe Alex's phone will surface with a recording of him making threats. Maybe this will all make sense. But I don't think it will. I think we were watching evidence disappear in real time. I think we were watching a cover-up. Not necessarily because of some grand conspiracy, but because the system is protecting itself. Because officers who shot someone don't want to be held accountable. Because agencies don't want the embarrassment of admitting their people screwed up. Because the Trump administration doesn't want to admit that their big, tough border enforcement operation resulted in killing an American citizen over nothing. And what kills me is that this was preventable. All of it. If you're going to conduct enforcement operations, you secure crime scenes immediately. You document everything meticulously. You establish clear chain of custody. You preserve all evidence without question. You cooperate fully with independent investigators. You don't fight judges who tell you to preserve evidence. These are basics. This is basic professionalism. And they couldn't even do that. There's a comment that really struck me. Someone wrote, "This is what fascists do." And I thought about that word, fascist. It gets thrown around a lot these days, probably too much. But one of the hallmarks of fascist systems is that the state can kill with impunity, that there's no real accountability when the government takes a life, that evidence conveniently disappears, that the official story is what matters, not the truth, that what we're seeing here. Maybe it's not full fascism yet, maybe it is just authoritarian incompetence. But the trajectory is terrifying. Several people mentioned Kash Patel. One commenter said Patel claimed in a TV interview over the weekend that the FBI had possession of the gun. Okay, so if that is true, and I haven't verified it, but let us assume it is, then why doesn't the FBI's declaration mention the gun? Why doesn't it confirm they have it? Why doesn't it say they've turned it over to the lead investigator or they re-preserving it for the state investigation? If Patel is publicly saying the FBI has the gun, but the FBI agent won to confirm that under oath to a federal judge, what does that tell you? It tells me they are not getting their stories straight. It tells me there is no coordination. It tells me that what they say publicly and what they are willing to swear to in court are two different things, and that a huge problem. Because when agencies start contradicting themselves, when public statements match sworn declarations, that is when you know something is very wrong. I saw some comments about the gray hoodie guy, people talking about the agent who grabbed the gun and took off with it, and I thought about that moment. In the chaos after the shooting, someone grabbed Alex Pretti's gun. That person walked away with it. Where did they go? What did they do with it? Did they properly log it as evidence? Did they turn it over to the FBI? Did they give it to their supervisor? Or did it end up in someone's truck or locker or home? We don't know. The declarations tell us. And that uncertainty, that gap in the narrative, that where evidence disappears. One commenter made a prediction about riots. They said this is going to cause riots. And I understand that anger. I feel it too. When you watch your government kill someone and then lose the evidence, rage is a rational response. But I also think we need to be smart about this. We need to demand accountability through every legal channel available. We need to support the Minnesota investigators trying to get to the truth. We need to pressure our representatives to demand answers. We need to make this story impossible to ignore. Because here's the thing. They were counting on us getting tired. They were counting on this fading from the news cycle. They were counting on people forgetting about Alex Pretti, moving on to the next outrage, accepting that we'll never know what really happened. That is how they win, not by having a good explanation for the missing gun, by making us stop asking about it. I am going to keep asking, where is Alex Pretti's gun? Where is his phone? Why won't these agencies assure the judge they are preserving evidence? Why did they fight the preservation order? Who decided to leave the crime scene unsecured for 38 minutes? Who decided the FBI should collect evidence instead of the lead investigator? Who decided not to turn over the body cam footage? Who decided not to confirm in writing that they are complying with a court order? These are not complicated questions. These are basic questions that deserve answers. And the fact that we are not getting answers tells us everything we need to know about how seriously this administration takes accountability, about how much they value American lives, about whether they believe they are above the law. I read a comment that said Alex Pretti's family should get millions from this. And yes, they should. They deserve compensation. They deserve justice. But more than that, they deserve the truth. They deserve to know exactly what happened to their son, their brother, their loved one. They deserve to see the body cam footage. They deserve to know where his gun is. They deserve to have someone look them in the eye and explain why he is dead. And right now, they're not getting any of that. They were getting bureaucratic double talk and missing evidence and agencies that won to confirm basic facts. The judge in this case is going to have to make a decision soon, probably within 24 to 48 hours. He is going to decide whether to extend the temporary restraining order or let it expire. And I am telling you right now, based on these declarations, he should extend it. He should order the FBI to confirm exactly what evidence they collected. He should order HSI to confirm exactly what they've received. He should order Border Patrol to turn over the body cam footage immediately. He should order all three agencies to account for every piece of evidence in this case. And he should make clear that failure to comply will result in consequences. Because if he doesn't, this evidence will disappear. Maybe it already has. Maybe that gun is already gone, melted down, or lost, or sitting in someone's personal collection. Maybe Alex's phone has been wiped. Maybe the body cam footage will conveniently become corrupted. Maybe we'll never know what really happened in those moments before Border Patrol shot an American citizen 10 times. And if that happens, if we let this go, we are accepting that this is who we are now, a country where the government can kill you and make the evidence vanish, a country where federal agencies defy judges, a country where chain of custody doesn't matter, a country where your life can be ended and the truth about it buried. I refuse to accept that. I refuse to accept that this is normal or acceptable or just how things are now. This is outrageous. This is a betrayal of everything the justice system is supposed to stand for. And we cannot let them get away with it. So here's what I'm asking you to do. First, share this. Make sure people know what's happening. Make sure Alex Pretty's name doesn't fade away. Make sure the pressure stays on. Second, contact your representatives. Call them. Email them. Demand they investigate. Demand they hold hearings. Demand they get answers about the missing evidence. Third, support the Minnesota investigators however you can. They trying to get to the truth and they fighting an uphill battle against federal agencies that are stonewalling them. Fourth, if you in Minnesota, show up, protest, make noise, make it impossible for them to ignore this. And fifth, don't give up. Don't get tired. Don't move on to the next thing. Stay focused on this until we get answers. Because Alex Pretti deserves justice, his family deserves truth, and we all deserve to live in a country where the government can kill people and make the evidence disappear. Where is the gun? Where is the phone? Why won't they preserve the evidence? These questions matter, and we are not stopping until we get answers. I am going to keep covering this. When the judge makes his ruling, I'll be back with analysis. When the Minnesota investigators release findings, I'll be back with coverage. When more information emerges about the missing evidence, I'll be back with updates. This isn't going away. Not while I have a platform. Not while you willing to listen. Not while Alex Pretty's family is still waiting for answers. And to anyone in the Trump administration who might be watching this, who might be part of this investigation, I want to say something directly to you. You have a choice right now. You can do the right thing. You can preserve the evidence. You can cooperate with investigators. You can tell the truth about what happened. You can make sure justice is served, or you can be part of a cover-up. You can be the person who destroyed evidence. You can be the person who obstructed justice, and history will remember which choice you made. Just following orders didn't work at Nuremberg. It won't work here either. You're making individual choices. Own them, because the truth has a way of coming out eventually. And when it does, you're going to have to live with what you did or didn't do in this moment. Choose wisely. Where is Alex Pretty's gun? I'm still waiting for an answer. We all are.